Welcome to Ride Along. I'm Joe Monahan. Today we're going to talk about containers. This is an interesting subject. I'm going to try to give a little bit of, let's say, history behind why containers are talked about so much, and then what they are, and go from there. So, many years ago, not many, but back in the, let's say, mid-2000s, virtual machines were talked about a lot, but they weren't really heavily used in production environments. And I believe, and this is my belief, one of the reasons is because people didn't have a really solid way to protect those virtual machines at the time. So if they put them into production and something happened, it'd be difficult to recover them properly. Then along came companies like B-Ranger and Beam and other companies similar that started providing proper backups and proper data protection for that content. So, again, in my opinion, I did virtualization from 2005 to probably around 2019 or 20 as my focus. And it was amazing how fast virtualization took off once they had a very good solution to be able to protect and recover those virtual machines. So now we have containers. I believe containers are kind of in that same boat right now. There are a few solutions out right now that will help you recover containers, but I don't think that people have finally gotten over that, if you will, that ridge that gives them the confidence to believe that they're going to be protected. And that's really important to understand, because I believe that once they do, containers are going to become a lot more prevalent. And I mean a lot more prevalent. They are right now in the enterprise, and I'll explain why in a moment. But even in smaller companies, you can do containers on desktops for applications. You can do it in small environments. Once it becomes more of a popular play, it will start to see the same results that virtual machines and virtualization did. So what is a container? Well, one of the biggest weak points of an application by far in the past has been that when you write an application, it's all on one server or one machine, and any time that you want to change code, everything that has to do with that application has to agree with that code. All the way down to, if you're on Windows, let's say, the registry, the APIs, all those little sub-pieces all have to agree. And once again, it's on one machine, so if there's a problem, everybody feels the problem. So a container, what they did is they created this middleware for the application to say, you're my operating system. And I can spread that across multiple physical machines and even multiple environments worldwide if I choose. But what it does is spreads that application out so it's easier to manage and code. Now that I've broken out my application into these compartmental pieces, if you think about how much of an improvement this is, now I can take each piece, like spell check, for example, and it can be its own individual managed component. So when I choose to make corrections to spell check, let's say in an application, it only affects spell check because all the other pieces are independent and talk to that middleware by themselves. So if I have a database connector and I want to update it, instead of having to update the entire piece of software, I can update just the database connector and nothing else has to get touched. So if you want a simple example of this, think about your cell phone, right? Your cell phone has all these individual applications, and those individual apps all talk to your foundational OS. but you can update the individual apps on your cell phone without affecting the foundation of that cell phone. So imagine with a container system, the containers are the applications on your cell phone, and the foundation is that cell phone OS. All those pieces work together on your cell phone. They can share information or they cannot share information, right? But in the end, think about one of those applications having multiple pieces out in the cloud that you don't see. So all you're using or all you're working with is this one little interface, and it's talking to this much larger solution on the back end. Meaning that can be broken into 20 or 30 different pieces. So for example, take a look at Maps on your cell phone. Maps has all these little features that you can use to say no tolls, add tolls, no highway. Imagine each one of those features was a separate application unto itself, and when you select it, it calls that separate piece and feeds it back to your central interface. So if somebody wants to update one of those pieces, they don't affect the entire app. They only affect that piece of the app. So containers, simply put, break out all of the code into individual pieces or individual sections and allow you to develop and manage those sections separately without affecting the whole. If you think about enterprises and how big their applications are and how quickly they have to be developed in order to keep up with today's technology, this is a must-have solution. An absolutely must-have solution. Because without it, one small issue with one part of an application and their entire ability to be able to manage you is done. But if I can have one small piece that's down for a short period of time, it's not going to affect the larger component or the larger piece. So once again, that's containers basically in a nutshell, very, very rudimentary. Thanks for riding along, and I hope it was helpful.